you know, I asked him about it. He said, you know, well, the Muslims had all these knives and they killed children back in, you know, 500 years ago. So it's this idea of demonization and the historical grievance that allows people to say, oh, they're bad people, so what we do is justified. And it gets people to ignore what they themselves do that is wrong. And that's also a big problem with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. If you're always blaming the other side, you're not taking responsibility for what the other side is doing.
That's a good answer.
And there's definitely, you know, there's definitely room, and particularly in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, don't try to paint one side good or bad because you're going to get disappointed. It's not that clean. It's not that simple.
You know what? I think that's a good answer. And what we're trying to embrace here is there's people that want to go over to, you know, East Jerusalem or Gaza and are willing to, you know, work with each side, try to put a human face on each other. And that's what we're addressing here. And again, reiterate and bore the heck out of you. Think about it. I mean, when you're a child, you watch television, go to a church, go to school. The opposite. I mean, what you're learning is the opposition or these people are different from you. It affects you very heavily. Very, very heavily. Now, how do you break out of that? How do you think? You know, how do you think? And Professor Edwin Moyes is an inspiration to me. He told me, question everything. And that's how you do it. Now, in consideration of being from the cradle to the grave, indoctrinated, what is it about these Palestinians? Why are they complaining? Why are the Jewish complaining? And that's what Ralph is trying to go on to both sides. But this is what we're addressing. This is why we're in front of you, is a psychological issue. I'm going to hand this over to Dave. But what you can do, in my opinion, Dave will tell you more, is if you can attend that AAPD group R March, that would be great. You know, it lets the politicians and media know that people care about this issue. You know? And in addition to that, what we need to do in the U.S. is to make that conditional. Because if there's no consequences, then why care what you do? All I'm trying to get is to get that made conditional where we say to Israel, like Professor Coyne said, we will take care of you, we will protect you, but you cannot keep making us look bad. We're Americans, and we have a reputation. Nothing bad's going to happen to you, and we'll protect you, but you need to start caring about our reputation.
Can I re-ask for Dave, as far as how much leverage do we have, what is the amount of aid to Israel and to the Palestinians?
There you go, I forgot, I'm sorry. Okay.
I'll go ahead and handle that right now. I don't know. I don't have the number for the Palestinian side, but it's going to be considerably less. It's not going to be $1 billion. It's probably going to be a few $100 million at most. And that's going to be going all to Fatah, the faction that we support. On the Israeli side, the Israeli government gets about $3 billion a year in military aid. That started in the 70s, in the Nixon administration. So since then, during the Cold War, they were seen as an ally. So since the early 70s, they've received over $100 billion in military aid from the U.S. But the Cold War is over for a while. So and they're still getting that amount of money. The Bush administration signed a memorandum that they were going to give $30 billion a year from fiscal 2009 to fiscal 2018. And we're in year 2 of that now. What does that come down to for South Carolina taxpayers? That's $222 million in this 10-year period that we're going to pay our tax money is going to go to providing military aid to the Israelis.
That's South Carolina.
Yeah, that's just from South Carolina.
And we need that money a lot in comparison to other states. I'd like to see South Carolina a lot better. We are lacking in primary education. Infant mortality rate is, what, 3rd highest in the country? What, 5th highest for unemployment or something like that? Those figures may not be accurate, but around about the general.
Yeah,
we need that money more than giving it to war. We really do. South Carolinians have the potential.
To completely understand where that money goes, it's not completely for Israel's interests, though. All military aid is for U.S. interest. It supplies our military-industrial complex, and it's required to be from U.S. weapons. Israel is the only country that actually has a break from that. They're allowed to spend 25% of their military aid on their own military-industrial complex. So out of that $30 billion during this 10-year period, about 7 and some change, $7 billion, is directly toward the Israeli government, Israeli economy. The rest of it has to be spent on weapons, particularly the new Joint Strike Fighter that was supposed to be the cheap new fighter plane the U.S. is producing, and it's not very cheap at all. But, you know, it's a question of priorities. Do we want to spend that amount of money? Also, if we keep providing that amount of money, then, you know, if we say the settlement policy is bad and we need the settlements to stop, how are we going to get those settlements to stop unless we put our money where our mouth is? Another issue that I'm not an expert on is the issue of loan guarantees. And this was actually how the settlement building was stopped in the early 90s with George H.W. Bush, Daddy Bush. Daddy Bush, you know, was trying to engage the peace process and said, you know, you guys aren't stopping the settlements, so we're going to stop the loan guarantees. It actually stopped the settlement building for a year. What happened wrong? That was the end of his term. Clinton got into the White House, and then the settlement building continued again. So we have, we do have an antecedent for, you know, being able to stop the settlement building at least.
I'll fix it and hand this over to you. But before I do, I want to let you know that every semester, are you going to be the president here next semester?
Yeah.
I'll talk to, who's going to be the next president?
I'm not sure yet.
I'll talk to Monica Crosby, Jennifer Thompson, the legislative coordinator for Amnesty. We'll figure something out. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Sorry for the bow in Japanese American. But I think every semester, 6 universities we're going to have this lecture, and we hope it'll get bigger. University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill will have it next semester, and Florida State. We had 6 in South Carolina. We're taking it to North Carolina and Florida. In addition to that, there are organizations that are coming together. You know, Amnesty has helped this, the Carolina Peace, right? And there's an Amnesty International we have to talk to, chapter in Charleston. So we're going to beat this on the head semester to semester. In addition to that, there are people already in Egypt and in Israel and in Palestine that are doing what they can. We're ready to do more. But it's up to the American people if we can do that or not. I have faith in y'all. I hope that if I don't see you, I hope to come back alive and see all of you one day. So God bless you. I appreciate it. And Dave, I don't know everything. You go ahead.
I'm going to bring back a lot of literature. I'm not sure how good this is to actually look through right now, but I'll lay out for y'all if you pass it around if you like. I like the cartoon personally. This is from a Physicians for Human Rights Israel. It's pretty good. But anyway, you can check that out during or after if you want to pass it around. I'll pass this to the sun. All right. A little background about me. My name is David Matos. I've been active in the peace movement here in South Carolina, believe it or not, for the past 5 years. Grew up with Palestinian kids going to school, so I was always, you know, aware of this Israeli-Palestinian conflict when I was a kid. So while I was in elementary school, with kids my age, I would turn on the TV and I would see kids my age throwing rocks at soldiers. So it piqued my interest. And from then, I've just paid attention. Early 2000s, this was the time when Bush was the new president and Ariel Sharon was the new prime minister in Israel, and the second Intifada had begun. And hundreds of Israelis were dying, and hundreds of Palestinians were dying. And it was just a horrible situation. I felt like our government's not acting for peace. I've got to say something. I've got to do something. And that's how I got activated on this issue. So I've tried to hold lots of educational stuff. I've done lobbying. In fact, I'm about to do some more lobbying. And I've also traveled to Israel, Palestine twice with an organization called Interfaith Peace Builders. And to give them a plug real quick, Interfaith Peace Builders is an organization based out of DC. They've brought about, what is it, about 35 delegations now of Americans from all across the United States to Israel and Palestine to talk to Israelis and Palestinians and activists and peace groups to get the peace perspective and ideas of, you know, all the different aspects. It seems very complicated. It's a tragic, very emotional and twisted, you know, kind of situation with Israel.